Hello, what's good? My name is Ryan Thomas, and I'm going to be the host for this TLC session. We're really excited that you've joined us here today to hear Understanding Ashford University's Military Student Population. Please welcome our presenter, Ms. Heather Albin.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for this TLC session. I just want to give a brief introduction, of myself. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the strategy manager that oversees military and veteran services. I've been with Ashford University since 2013. Prior to joining Ashford, I worked at a Navy civilian laboratory that's based in San Diego. I currently chair Ashford University's Military and Student Veteran Task Force, which oversees all military strategy and operations, and really the military student experience at Ashford. And then for awareness on kind of where I sit at the institution, I sit within the Strategic Planning and Management Department. That's a little bit about me. Today, I just want to go through a couple of things. Wanted to clearly state how we define military at Ashford University, share with you some of the data, and then next steps on how we can better use this data to service our students. Just for awareness, at each institution looks at military a little bit differently. We're very inclusive at Ashford, and we include all types of military affiliations. So at Ashford, we look at the active duty service members, members of the National Guard, reservists, spouses, dependents, Department of Defense employees, and Department of Veteran Affairs employees, and it also should say veterans on this slide. That is our whole encompassing military population. So when we talk about military affiliated students in general, that's what we mean. We also may signify student veterans and or active duty service members out in different ways. But usually this is how we would define anything that we're talking about in terms of military students. And again, this varies from institution. So could be at a separate institution that may look at military students as ones that are essentially just active duty service members. You may have another institution that defines students based on their actual financial aid document, which would be that are students utilizing VA education benefits, for example, or a student utilizing tuition assistance. And tuition assistance is what's offered to active duty service members as their financial benefit. So earlier this year, Ashford University actually decided to change how we were speaking to military student population. We were always capturing each of those categories, but we were really relying on the education benefit that I alluded to a few seconds ago. So we were really speaking to students based on what financial aid document that they had or were using on file. So that would essentially mean all students utilizing VA education benefits and all students utilizing tuition assistance, and we were often referring to them as TA students or VA students, which could be misleading because students utilizing VA education benefits, for example, can include spouses and dependents. It also actually can include the active duty service member population. So we were using that as our primary way to look at our student population, our military student population, and then using a self-identifier as our secondary point. The self-identifier is given to us at the point of enrollment in the online application and when the student discloses. Instead of keeping it this way, what we've done over the past year is change how we're looking at the student population, and today defining them based on their self-identification and OAP. The main reason being is that these students are being treated differently externally based on their self-identification. There's more that's happening now for active duty service members, as well as spouses and student veterans, and they're each receiving different kind of benefits. And because of that, it's much easier for us to look at the population this way to be able to identify the unique needs they may have. And again, that's not to say we still don't capture, obviously, the information and can deep dive into that information. It's just that we're moving forward on primarily looking at them based on their self-identifier. Just wanted to share, kind of start deep diving into the data now, but what our total population is of military students. So you'll often hear that about 25% of our population, that, as you can see, is we have a little under 10,000 military affiliated students. And again, that includes all of the military affiliations that I stated earlier, so including reservists, National Guard, spouses, dependents. That's everyone that's in that mix. And then just wanted to share too what our total population looks like by branch of service. So this is only for active duty service members. This data was pulled only for that group. You can see that Air Force is our highest population of military affiliated active duty service members. The reason being is we have a relationship with Community College of the Air Force, and I'm sure if you were in the session earlier with Alexa and members of the registrar's team, you heard more about our partner. Eventually, it allows students to transfer their CCAF degree or CCAF courses, and we have CCAF courses into their final degree program. So because of that relationship, we're able to have much higher enrollment for Air Force students. It's also true that Air Force and Army have more students in general, like from a national perspective, that are using to while in the service. Okay, this is the breakdown of the military students for week ending, again, in 10/16. This is by college, and this is undergraduate students. And as you can see, the majority of students, military affiliated students, are actually associated with the Forbes School of Business and Technology, and in particular, the Bachelor's of Arts in Business Administration. And then this is the graduate snapshot. It's a little different in terms of College of Liberal Arts is now the lowest enrollment, but Forbes School of Business and Technology, as you can see, is still the predominant choice for, or programs within that college are the predominant choice for military affiliated students. And then here's a snapshot of the makeup for where we are for undergraduate students for military. So I think a lot of times we talk about our student veterans, and particularly that group maybe being our largest population. It's actually, as you can see, active duty service members are actually our largest student population at Ashford. And the reason behind that is because active duty service members are looking for flexible programs and courses to attend to. So our 5-week course schedule, as well as the asynchronous environment, is really what attracts a military student or a military active duty service member to attend Ashford University. That's the biggest thing we hear from them, is why they're choosing to come here, is actually that that scheduling. can see that, again, veterans are still, yes, our second largest group. And then from there, spouse, dependent, National Guard, and reservists. And this is the undergraduate makeup. I'll also make one last point about this is that in our undergraduate level, we do offer a military tuition grant that discounts the tuition rate to $250 a credit hour, which is equivalent to what is offered to an active duty service member as tuition assistance. So that means that they essentially are attending those courses with no debt. They can attend, usually the amount of tuition assistance a year they can attend. And then this is the makeup of the graduate student population. And as you can see, there's a much smaller population of graduate students. One thing that we do not do right now is offer a military tuition grant in terms of a tuition discount at the graduate level, which is a reason why we see some of our undergraduates maybe not pursuing graduates with us. The other piece that I wanted to point out is that, and because of that, active duty service members are not, will use a secondary financial benefit to continue their education at this level. But they have a higher education benefit, so it's easier for them to continue in moving into a graduate student status. We were speaking about in terms of having primary, how we were originally calculating military students at Ashford University versus what we are today and using the self-identifier. But this is really looking at what benefit they're using. So predominantly, you can see at the undergraduate, there is a mix of use of tuition assistance and VA education benefits, and then you can see that some have no military benefit. That could be a spouse, in particular, a dependent, and then you can also see at the graduate level, and again, the use of tuition assistance at the graduate level being so small, mostly because we're not discounting that tuition, and also it's just a smaller population of students that are active duty service members and on a national scale that are continuing to get their graduate degree. And just for awareness, the tuition assistance isn't even available for a student, let's say, pursuing a doctoral available at that program level. I just, again, really just wanted to share here what the student makeup is. We get as a task force, we get a lot of questions about what does our military student data look like. We've really taken a concerted effort this year to update how we are looking at our military students to meet what we're seeing in terms of external trends, and really being able to identify each of these populations differently so that we can support them. And is to further personalize support. And just to use an example there, something that we really would like to be more proactive about is knowing if an active duty service member is transitioning out of the service and changing his or her status to a veteran. And the great thing is we collect a lot of that data from the student in the beginning of their time at Ashford and through the online application. And they let us know when they're planning to leave the service, and we could be a little bit more proactive in reaching out to those students and identifying them and asking them, are you transitioning? What do you need from us from a transition perspective? And then also make sure we're capturing them correctly moving forward. As an active duty service member, they may not need the same resources that they would maybe need or want as a veteran that's transitioning back into the civilian workforce. The next thing is resources and really making those more personalized. If you attended the military panel for Women's Week last month, you heard that some really great points of, as Ashford University's female population grows, the military female population will likely grow. And so what does that look like, and how do we offer resources to those individuals, or do we need to even change the resources that we're offering? Again, more personalized experience, but also looking at it as a whole to really be able to do some really good targeted resources that help the students outside the classroom. And then continuing with military-friendly policies, you know, we still have a 25% of our student population is military affiliated. There's a lot of regulation in place around these students that comes out from Department of Defense, Department of Education, as well as the Department of Veteran Affairs. So how do we continue to remain compliant, but also how do we use those regulations to better improve our student experience, whether that's inside or outside the classroom, and use those regulations as guides to do that. And I think you'll hear a lot more about that actually in the next session in this room, in particular with inside the classroom and the great work that the Academic Affairs Subcommittee of the Military and Veteran Student Task Force has been working on. So with that, I just wanted to open, say thank you for joining today. I hope that you walk away with a little bit better understanding of our military student population.
Well, thanks so much, Heather, for your presentation, and thank you for all of us for joining here today. Please enjoy the rest of TLC and have a great day.